So a lot of what's cool is like we have this line, this thread that connects us in the diaspora all over the world. So I'll get email from somebody in Chile saying, oh my God, I'm from Bethlehem. And when I made your soup, it tastes exactly the way my grandma made it. And she's from Bethlehem. And so it is, the food is literally a line of communication between us that is nonverbal, but you feel it at your core. And it's kind of hard to translate that. So when it's appropriated left and right and like, yeah, it just really, it's something, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's fine. I actually have that with what is real Jewish food. I do. Like I do. My grandmother made extremely good matzo ball soup. Like there are certain things that I definitely like. My bubby made this kasha and varnishkas, but like we're talking stuff that was Polish, Austrian, whatever. They were all Yiddish. So yeah, I did like that, and it did smell like familiar.
Right. And I love a good matzo ball soup too.
Exactly. But it's not what Israelis call Israeli food is not Israeli food because there is no Israel.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but there's an interesting book, and it was called How to Cook in Palestine, and it was written by one of the first Zionists that came to Palestine from Europe. Did you hear about this book?
I did. I saw it either mentioned and somebody was talking about it or referenced in a video or a documentary. But yes, they were teaching them how all the white Ashkenazi women, the European women, how to adapt their cooking for that region. Yeah.
Because they were used to cooking with butter, and olive oil was very strange to them and very strong tasting. And they had never cooked with things like mint, which we put in pretty much everything. Yeah. And so it went from, oh, well, we want to learn how to cook. Literally in the book, it says, European women need to learn how to cook in Palestine to become healthier. So we need to learn Palestinian cuisine. And then it went from that to, oh, it's Israeli food. What's Palestine? Never existed, It went from that to what we have today. It's a fascinating book. I read quite a few excerpts from it, and I really realized that this food was really alien to them, and they had to get used to it. And they did get used to it. It's great food, as Peter said. So,
but you don't have a culinary background. I'm a journalism background too. So I'm trying to think, would I all of a sudden be able to like do cooking? But no.
But I learned hands-on. Like you can't learn this in culinary school. So I learned hands-on from my mom. I meticulously documented from my aunts, from my grandmothers. I did interviews to like learn about like where they procured their ingredients. And so I wanted to make the book as authentic as possible. And so that's where I use my journalism background to be able to document all of this material and put it in a succinct historical way, as well as a cultural way into a book. So that's why I did what I did. And now I've taught cooking classes in culinary schools just because simply they just don't have this in culinary school. So
that's awesome.
It's just a village tribal kind of cuisine, basically.
Yeah. Where are you located?
I'm in Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you? You're back east? Are you?
I'm in South Florida.
South Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm in the panhandle of Florida where there is no...
He's just here right now.
Yeah.
I know that's a weird thing for him to say he's somewhere else, but he's just here for the night. But yeah.
Nice. So I love Florida too.
And being on the West Coast, what has been your experience with Zionism? Because obviously South Florida in particular is really bad. I can imagine the West Coast attitude about this is probably California in general is not a culture in general that I would see it's a lot more laid back. I wouldn't see them really on board with this type of stuff. Whereas on the East Coast in particular, that's where you have a lot more of the rabid Zionists, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we have a mix, actually. You'd be surprised. So while in the West Coast, they understand the Palestinian point of view, there are definitely deep Zionist areas here definitely, like, because when you think about it, Silicon Valley, a lot of the tech companies do a lot of their core business with Israel. So there are really close connections from Oracle to Google to, we've got even like Lockheed Martin here. So within these pockets, you get deeply Zionist communities as well. And there are, and you'd be surprised at like the amount of Californians that are like rabid Fox fans that are, but they're not open about it. They have like they're closeted, I guess you could say. They're closeted Fox fans. And so when they hear that, just that one perspective, sadly, they don't really get the Palestinian perspective, or they dehumanize us in a way. And I've dealt with that too, even in California, believe it or not.
Well, I think that's everywhere. And I've said it for a long time. It's people don't know people, you know, and I've said this before, you know, there's people who are just so ignorant. If I brought somebody who has never met a Palestinian person and I brought them with me to the Magluba Fest, okay, or whatever, you know, it's like
learned about this Magluba Fest.
Well, I think I'm calling it that. It was a tasting. It was sort of like a cook-off. It was a cook-off, but I call it Magluba Fest. That's just my phrase. But it was like they were numbered, and there was a blind tasting, and everybody voted, and it was a whole thing. But you know, if I brought somebody there and to meet people, they wouldn't be able to leave there with the same perspective that they had coming in. They just wouldn't. And I've met the people that have issues with Muslims. I find this all the time, but they've never met one. Or they have, but they don't know that they're Muslim. Like I'm sure they have, but they don't know. They've never been to a mosque. They've never been to any sort of, you know, Muslim event or community center. Because if you've ever been to those places and have met those people, you wouldn't have that attitude. I think people who talk crap about Iranians, they don't know any. If you knew Iranians, you wouldn't have a position like that about Iranians. So I think a lot of it is completely ignorance.
Actually,
right. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Go ahead,
Blanche.
I was going to say I was raised Catholic, and I can't tell you how many times people are shocked, and I'm like, Jesus was not born in Texas. Like, what the hell? Like, I mean, I literally, you know what my parish church was growing up in Bethlehem was the Church of Nativity. That's where my parents got married.
Oh, wow.
My parents got married. There are pictures of them in the Church of Nativity getting married. That's where I used to go. I didn't even have to deal with as many tourists when I was a kid. We would just go on Sundays with my grandma, and that was it. But it's so hard for people to wrap their minds. They think Bethlehem is like this fictional fairy tale city that is devoid of any Christians, and they don't understand, like, we are the original Christians. That's why there are some people that call us the living stones, I guess, of Christianity, because we're like the direct lineage. And then just out of curiosity, I got my my DNA checked, 99% from the Levant, like square flat on the Levant.
Yeah.
And so all my cousins and my extended cousins, and I was just like, wow, we really are like truly from this region. And they're trying to say that we're from Arabia and we're from, it's really wild. Like people, like you said, they just don't have that information to make a proper assessment before they judge, you know?
No, and people are really kind of just stupid, because at the end of the day, the Levant people, which it's a bigger region, I think, than people realize. I've done enough reading, and the problem is so much of what I've read blurs together. That's the problem. But, you know, anything from, let's say, portion of Iraq up through Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, the region, right? Those are some very similar peoples in that region. And it got cut up and broken up into random shapes that the white people decided this is how we're going to make this.
Like Pico. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Well, and then we said, okay, and we can put these people in charge over here because they'll play games with us. This royal family and they'll sell out their own people for us. We can do business with them. But at the end of the day, that region is a pretty solid different group of people. And what people cannot seem to grasp is that it's separate from the religion. Okay. So it's, there's all the different people that were there. The second largest Jewish population in West Asia outside of Israel is Iran. Yes. Iran has the second largest Jewish population. There's 13 synagogues in Tehran alone.
Wow.
And so people don't really understand that the religion and the culture and the region and all that is a very different thing. And it's it's ignorance.
Do you know the oldest Jewish population that's living in Ramallah to this day? That they're like the Samaritans. Have you heard of them?
Yes, I've heard of the Samaritans.
Oh, they're so cool. I got to meet them. And they were like hanging out at our in Ramallah. It's like the YMCA equivalent. Like, kids go there to play.
Right.
and they were playing basketball, and I got to meet them. They were like the coolest. And I was asking them, like, why do you prefer living here versus like in Israel proper? And they're like, wait, we don't have anything in common with Israelis. Like, this is where we feel at home, you know, and they're firmly integrated in the Palestinian population. They're treated with love. And that's how it was. Like, people think, oh, it's complicated. They've been at each other's throats for thousands of years. That's a lot of cool. Like, they actually were integrated in the communities, these ancient cultures, civilizations, Jewish cultures, civilizations. And everything was fine until this like crazy, you know, sort of supremacist ideology from Europe came knocking on the door and just like screwing everything up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
100%. And I think that speaks to, you know, we were going to play this clip later, but I think it's actually very relevant now because you mentioned you live in Silicon Valley. You know, Zohran Mamdani winning the mayoral primary in New York City. I've tried to explain to people that this is so beyond a political race. This has more to do with the exposure of the Israeli lobby's stranglehold over our society and how much worse it's gotten now that he's won. Well, I don't know this gentleman's name, and I don't really care what his name is, but he did let the cat out of the bag, which is what we've said all along is the biggest reason that the elites, particularly the Zionists, hate Zohran Mamdani.
Is a fundamentally terrible idea. Someone who has embraced terrorists, like actual convicted terrorists, is a terrible idea. So how he got through, I really don't understand.
That's because you're a pinhead and you have no idea. That's why you don't understand.
Me wearing my Foster Grant glass, you know, or whatever glasses, you know.
I cannot with this man.
I, you know, definitely went to, you know, NYU School of Business and the whole 9 yards and everything. I can't understand why a person like myself who's worth tens of millions of dollars doesn't have an opinion that is more important than the average person.
Yeah,
that's what I made all this money for.
I don't know how he slipped through the cracks.
Again, talk about transparency. Like, how did this commoner get through? I thought we made sure that that's not possible, especially in New York. I mean, if it can happen in New York, it could happen in San Francisco. It can happen in Denver. It could happen anywhere.
Well, we were hoping it would happen in San Francisco. We were supporting Shahid Buttar multiple times. We were hopeful.
Well, Shahid, who's now running against Pelosi and will probably have more money and a better chance, but that's Congress. Just in general, you know, we've said that at the federal level, politics is basically dead. If you want to make change in this country, it's going to happen at the local level. That's why winning a mayoral election in the biggest city in the world, frankly, it's going to have reverberating effects in a lot of other places. But that's not the only stupid thing that came out of this guy's mouth. He actually got even worse.
And my understanding is that a lot of people have buyer's remorse because the Democrats did a terrible job on opposition research on him during the primary. My team, as soon as we realized that he was probably going to win months before the primary, this was no surprise to us. We started doing the opposition research, and now we've gotten it out.
Okay, so clearly we missed something at the beginning when we played it, but here's what he actually was going to say.
Having a mayor who one of his platforms is to divest from Israeli companies when we have $26 billion of Israeli private equity money in our economy is a...
And there it is.
That's it.
Boom, over the target right there.
Isn't that nice? I love it when they're so transparent.
How could we
read the room? Honestly, they can't read the room, you know?
26 billion. I know you're going to enjoy this. $26 billion with a B, 26 billion with a B. We have invested with Israel. It's a big deal, really big deal.
You're really good at that.
He does a few of them really well. He does.
Yeah, that's really, you got to get the whole outfit and just do videos.
He's done that too. He has a mask when he's at his place.
I also have to say, Blanche or whatever you call yourself.
Yeah, you said my name right, Blanche.
Oh, well.
Not girls Blanche, it's just Blanche. Rhymes with Blanche.
He's being in character. You have to hear it. He's being in character.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I've always told Jen she has to be very careful bringing attractive women on the podcast because, you know, Slick Willie gets a little out of control here and there. But all jokes aside, what we've been saying, I'm glad you get a kick out of it.
Sorry.
But all jokes aside, the biggest issue here is that people still want to pretend, and we have been saying this ever since we started this podcast, there is no grand conspiracy here. Everything is about money and power, and Israel has a shitload of it. And that is the biggest reason why the powers that be in this country are willing to overlook a genocide. Because in the end, I guarantee you the overwhelming majority of them don't agree with it. But if they're invested in it, they'll look the other way. It's like, yeah, they really suck. And you know, I can tell you from personal experience, most people do not like Israelis. Like, they don't like them as people.
Nobody likes Israelis but Israelis.
But they will do business with them because there's a lot of money involved. If you go into the working class part of San Francisco, if you go into even the rough parts of Oakland, who do you think owns those apartment buildings?
BlackRock.
And who is involved with BlackRock?
Israel.